Good morning. It's good to be with you. I met some of you last summer when I was at St. John's and maybe other time. I'm glad to see Pastor Hank looking so well. And I'm standing up to do this because if I sit close to the computer, all you're going to see are my hands. I move my hands a lot when I'm preaching. Glad to be here. Thank you, Christine, for that children's sermon. It was a good introduction. Took a little bit of what I was going to say, but that's okay. Just to give you the context, as Christine said, Jesus has been out working hard. He's been teaching. He's been healing people. He's doing all these things to let the disciples know what's expected of him. We've heard for several weeks all those parables about the kingdom of heaven is like seeds. It's like wheat. It's like the ground, all those things. But what happened just before this episode, Jesus gets bad news. He gets news that John the Baptist has been executed by Herod. That's why it starts, when he heard this. He's been in a good mood, getting people ready. He needs time by himself, so he goes off. And that never works well because the people follow him. They get together, this huge crowd, as it says, 5,000 men and women and children, like a throwaway line. A lot of people. And the disciples, having learned all this stuff from Jesus about what he expects of them through the teaching, the healing, he's been telling them, this is what you're to do. They, like many of us, try to sidestep it. He's been saying, when their people are sick, I want you to heal them. When people are hurting, I want you to be with them. And they go, there's this whole crowd. Could you send them away? And too often in our churches, I'm going to take these off. Too often in our churches, in church history, not St. John's particular, but others, when we faced needs, our reaction has been, let somebody else do it. Or it's too big. So the fact that you participate in a refugee project, not trying to solve every refugee problem in the world, but doing what you can where you are, is exactly what the disciples were called to do. He says, you take care of it. What do you got? He said, well, there's a kid here, because he's 2 fish and some loaves of bread, but what can we do? He says, just take care of it. I'll pray over it. I'll bless it. Go see what happens when you do what I've been telling you to do. And what turns out to be maybe the first church potluck ever, because people shared what they had. And they shared beyond what they had, so that there was some left over. In that first lesson, the Isaiah lesson, the call is, it says, ho. What that really means is, hey, you, come here. I want you to buy this, even if you have no money. You go, that's not how this system works. I don't understand. So even if you have money you've been spending on the wrong things, there's abundance here for everyone. The disciples start to recognize that and go, all right, what you've been teaching us is really what you want us to go do. And when we do that, we might wind up like John the Baptist. Let me think about that. And through our years, we've done what we can both to participate and live out that faithfulness, and sometimes, as I said, to avoid it. I was a pastor in Manhattan for my first 10 years. And within that church or someone in the neighborhood, we let someone use our kitchen a couple times a week. I knew him for several years. I didn't learn his last name until 3 years in because they only called him Timmy Spaghetti. Because every Tuesday, he would cook up 20 or 30 pounds of spaghetti and sauce, take it to the street corner, and give it out. A reporter said to him one day, aren't you afraid people are going to take advantage of you? And Timmy said, I'm on the street corner giving away spaghetti. How do you take advantage of that? But on a Friday, he wouldn't do spaghetti. He would cook soup, another 20 gallons or 30 gallons of soup, and give it out. And one day as he was leaving the church, I noticed he had put a sign on his cart. And the sign said, I hope I do this right, but absolutely free soup. I thought, that's a little bit redundant. It's free soup. Why do you have to modify it? And then the more I thought about it, I thought, Well, yeah, because this was free soup from the beginning. Everything was donated, volunteer labor, and we're giving out for free. Absolutely free soup, which became sort of a motto for me and a model for my understanding of the church. Just the way it happened when Jesus said, you guys take care of it. The church itself can become not just a place to give out soup, but that absolutely free soup itself. We are gathered by the Spirit, by the free gift of grace, and we share ourselves freely, and we let people know, ideally, that's who we are. And each church maybe has a little bit different recipe. I'll beat a metaphor to death, just so you know. A little different recipe, and you have to figure out, maybe at St. John's, you may think Pastor Hank is the big potato in the soup. Maybe he's more like the bay leaf for all these years, has given this the seasoning and the special flavor there. I don't know. You can, if you want to call him big potato, it's okay with me. But right now, we're in a situation we have to evaluate and think about how we deal with that soup. Maybe, as we keep saying, after this is over, in the new normal, in the whatever you call it, we have to think of a way to come up with a different recipe. Change the recipe a little bit, or at least change the pot that we're cooking it in. How do we continue to share our soup online? How do we let people know when we're online there's soup available? How do we invite people to come get that cup or that bowl of soup? That's really the task going forward. It's a new opportunity, a way to reinvent our soup. Maybe the old recipe, we're just kind of tired. I work in a soup kitchen a couple of days a week, and the joke is, and I've been doing it for 87 years, not me, but the soup kitchen's been there 87 years. And we joke that they're still using the same starter. But when people look at it and say, what kind of soup is it? I go, brown. And I think the chunks are vegetables. That's as good as we know, because it's every day, depending on what's donated. Around New York City right now, there are places you can go and find a refrigerator on the street that is full of food that people have donated to be taken. Absolutely free refrigerator. You don't have to qualify, you don't have to give your name and address, you don't have to assert income level. Refrigerators and cabinets doing the same thing in different parts of the city. People are finding a way locally and by themselves and through churches and community groups to address the needs around them. Looking for that new recipe, that new soup pot, whatever else you need in that way. Called to do it in a different way. Yo, come and see, come and share. God is doing a new thing with us. God is calling us in new ways to discover what God is available to us. This crowd is out there. We might want to say, let somebody else do it. We're called, you're called to St. John's. We're all called as church together. Be out feeding, nourishing, healing, calling, teaching, all those things that still don't change, even though our circumstances right now are different. We hold each other in prayer and in service as we enter this new time of learning that the Spirit's calling us to and preparing us for. Amen.